Alrighty, everybody, we've got our next guest. He is the creator of E2C Network, and he is a very good friend of the Voice of College Football Network, the one and only himself, Kyle Loomis, helping us discuss the take on the 2024 edition of the Iron Bowl. Kyle, my man, how are you doing?
Doing very well. Very appreciative that you guys could let me come on here and grace your show with a little orange and blue. It needed a little bit of color after all.
I don't know about that orange.
Hey, listen.
They say no color matches orange. Nothing goes well with orange.
Well, here I'm going to actually get a little scientific with you here, and I have a good friend. I'll give him a shout out, Clint Richardson, that runs the Auburn uniform database. I mean, the man's obsessed with history and uniforms and all that stuff, even beyond Auburn. And there's actually something called a color wheel, and I learned this from him. And if you look in a color wheel, orange and navy are exactly exact across from the wheel. And when that happens, that means they are perfect matches, which is why orange and blue, our specific brand of it, is the best colors in all of college football. I rest my case.
Well, and I know like Auburn wore like some orange alternate uniforms.
Oh, no.
One of the games was in the 1978 22-22 tie against the Georgia Bulldogs. Would you like to see Auburn go back to like alternate uniforms every now and again? Or, I take that as a no.
You are opening up so many doors that
Didn't Doug Barfield have them in the?
Oh no bowl game.
This thing has been so debated. Again, I'm giving my friend a ton of shout outs here. Clint Richardson is the expert on all these things. He's written articles. He's done podcasts with me about it. So just look up orange uniforms, Auburn. He's going to come right up to the top. He'll give you the actual history. There are Auburn fans that are very misinformed about all this stuff. I'm not even quite sure I understand it all, but I trust his knowledge on it. To answer your question, absolutely not. Auburn's uniforms are absolutely perfect, and there's nothing that needs to be changed. We are much bigger and better than having to go with gimmicks. And I would say the same for Alabama, too. Now, I think your uniforms are disgusting, but they're classic. They're like, you don't need those things. I'm sorry. You got me on a rant that I didn't need to get on tonight.
Sorry, man. It's all good.
You hit a nerve to start off, and that's not even about Auburn and Alabama. That's just
let Oregon and Phil Knight have that mess.
It's so look, it's cool for Oregon. It's their thing. Let them have it. Let's do our thing down here in the state of Alabama. We don't need all those things. Now, we did change our face mask a little bit. That's fine. It's not that big a deal. I kind of like it when the full all-white stormtrooper look goes for Auburn on the road, which you guys will most likely see. Well, I don't know if they're going to do the white face mask or not. I hope they do. It's the best look. But anyway, here we are talking uniforms on Iron Bowl week.
Well, might as well have some fun on today's edition of Crimson Tide Live, especially with Thanksgiving coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we gotta, prep yourselves, folks. For those of you that I'm not in the state of Alabama as my residence, but I will be traveling there to go spend with my in-laws, who are all Alabama fans. So you guys are just getting me ready for what the conversation at the dinner table is going to be like, and me having to explain what has been transpiring this year for Auburn. And boy, is it difficult to explain sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you talked about what's been going on with Auburn this year. Like this year, it was a little bit of coming up short against Cal, coming up short against Oklahoma.
Yep.
Having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day against the Bulldogs. Mm-hmm. And now you've got a monumental quadruple overtime win over the Texas A&M Aggies, getting them trapped, thinking about, because like Mike Elko, I remember in the press conference this week, he was like, Auburn.
Yeah.
Did that still some kind of nerve for the Tigers? Because I have a feeling it did.
I don't buy into that a whole lot. I think it's fun to talk about for all of us in media and on the internet, and it certainly gets everybody else talking as well. I truly think it was just a slip of the tongue. Now, if it wasn't and he really meant to do that, just maybe as a little passing shot, brilliant on his part because he played it off really well, but it didn't work out for him. And certainly in the stadium, as all the fans were enjoying themselves on the field, they played up there on the Jumbotron that misspeak, and also a certain other clip from that day with one Nicholas Saban and saying that Auburn is haunted, which it's not a haunting for us. It's magical. But I don't buy into that motivated them. I think Auburn football had just enough motivation within what's been going on this season. The question has been, can Auburn finish a football game against quality opponents? You took care of Alabama A&M. You took care of La Mo. You took care of a few others. By the end of it, Kentucky was well within our control. But in some of these other games that you just rolled off, Auburn was in position to win, and they could not get it done. And I would argue as well that Auburn was had Georgia in a very bad situation at their place. If you look at the score and the way it transpires throughout the game, it looks a little bit not so much that's the story. But if you watch the game, you will see that Auburn was in a position to do something special there had they got out of their own way. So you're correct in saying that it's been just miss after miss after miss. And it looked like it was going to happen against Texas A&M. I was a little worried, I'll be honest with you.
Well, it's one of those scenarios where, like we talked to the Oklahoma guys, and y'all know this as well as we do, that home team, if you give them, you let them stay in it, stay in it long enough, everybody's going to start feeling the vibe, and then the crowd takes over, and Alabama, Texas A&M started feeling those seeds of doubt, and it just snowballs, and it breeds a new life of its own. And both Alabama and Texas A&M got caught right in that trap. But not saying anything bad about Auburn or Oklahoma. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. I mean, just stay in it long enough, stay, and things will happen. So, Auburn and Oklahoma did what they were supposed to, and Alabama and didn't. Texas A&M didn't. They let the scenario play out. They didn't take care of business.
Yep. Well, we'll go over a little bit about the 2024 edition of the Iron Bowl. And Stephen M., what's your prediction for the Iron Bowl? What are the keys to victory for Alabama?
Okay, so I have been wrestling with this score idea for a couple of days now, but the keys for Alabama to win, they've got to get off to a fast start offensively. Like you can't go in there sleepwalking into the Iron Bowl. You can't do that. You got to get off to a fast start offensively. And defensively, you got to play gap sound football. You're not going to have Deontay Austin, who's your green dot communicator at Mike linebacker. He's out for the year now with a leg injury that happened against Oklahoma. So right now, Justin Jefferson, the former JUCO linebacker, will be wearing that green dot. And you've got Jihad Campbell, who'll be playing that sting position right across or right next to him. So communication defensively, fitting your run gap, being gap discipline, that's going to be huge to defensively. Offensively, you got to go up to a fast start here. I think it's going to be a very intriguing Iron Bowl. If I had to give a score thought right now, I would go 31-24 Alabama. I think Bama late touchdown in the fourth quarter. Auburn's going to come out. Hugh Freeze is thinking, if I can just get Jalen Milroe to fold like a lawn chair, I got this Iron Bowl. That's what's going through Hugh Freeze's mind. Hugh Freeze is thinking, look, man, I beat a Nick Saban Alabama twice in my time at Ole Miss. I should have beaten him last year if not for some gravedigger play on 4th and 31. Now I get a chance to beat him on the field, dedicated to him, put myself in a bowl game and in whatever else Alabama's trying to do. That's what Hugh Freeze is looking at. But I would go Bama 31-24.
It's going to be a tight one. It'll be the tightest game in Tuscaloosa for quite a while because, like, the last several times the Iron Bowl has been played in Tuscaloosa, it's always been a whipping. But last time Alabama lost to Tuscaloosa was, of course, in 2010, and prior to that was in 2006 on CBS the week before rivalry week.
I remember.
So those are some dark days in Tuscaloosa.
We enjoyed those days.
Oh man. Well, Steven, what have you got going on Touchdown Alabama this week?
Well, we're just getting everybody prepared here for the Iron Bowl. Just going through some different matchups, different personnel looks. You know what has to be the theme here for Coach DeBoer to kind of get a lot of the fans calm, right? Because right now the fan base is like, look, if DeBoer falls to Auburn, you're going to have a lot of Alabama Nation ticked off. They're not going to be happy with that. So a lot of the conversation is what can Bama do going into this game to have itself better prepared, not just to win, but to execute the way it needs to. It's going to be a fun, interesting matchup. Which Alabama team shows up is the question. We're going to be the Alabama team that showed up against LSU, or we're going to be the Alabama team that showed up against Oklahoma. So we'll see.
It's like a stock market, up and down, up and down, up and down. And friends, check out the magic that Stephen M. Smith has on Touchdown Alabama magazine right here on the website down below, and on the links on YouTube and on X, Instagram, and Threads. Tell your friends, your family, and the cashiers at Publix about the magic that Stephen M. Smith has going on every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday. All right there on Touchdown Alabama. And you can check him out when he does some top-notch interviews with Mark Rogers himself, and he does some top-notch interviews with Paul Feinbaum. And let's just say, every time I'm watching Stephen M. Smith on the Paul Feinbaum show, he kills it. He is amazing on that show. I mean, it's pretty much one of the few reasons I'll watch the show for the sake of Stephen M. Smith.
You know what? It's fun. It's fun to get, to have Paul in a moment to where you can kind of straighten him out a little bit. 'Cause, Paul, he likes to stir things up, and he likes to cause a little bit of friction, a little bit of chaos. And I come on and I'm able to kind of, calm the man down a little bit. Chill, man. It's going to be all right. Chill.
A little reality.
A little reality, in Paul's world. So it's fun. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys having me, man. Y'all take care.
You too. Stay safe, stay warm. It's cold out. Stay away from the cold weather, and make sure you got a lot of lawn sleeves around you.
We'll do that. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you for coming on, Stephen M.
Absolutely.
And now we resume the rest of the preview of the 2024 Iron Bowl. History could be made for the Tigers, and Alabama is looking to salvage something for 2024. Mm-hmm. And holy Toledo. And I've been noticing some of Auburn Nation, not all of them, but there's like some of them. There's just a few crazies on social media that have just been acting nuts on Hugh Freeze. But I say stick with stability, because I remember Nick Saban said on College Game Day where he chastised Florida for constantly firing their coaches. Mm-hmm. Every time there was a bad day going around, they just threw the baby out with the bathwater. Mm-hmm. I think. And we heard Stephen M. Smith speaking about this a little while ago with Nick Saban, where he said, let me do my own thing. Y'all get out the way. Let me work on this.
Yeah, there's certainly been a contingency of fans that choose to make themselves very loud and very vocal, usually in the social media world, about their consternation about Hugh Freeze. And these are the same ones that did it about Brian Harsin. Not saying there weren't reasons to be that. And they're the same ones that did it for Gus Malzahn. So you see what I'm getting at here. Mm-hmm. These are the people that can't be satisfied, that don't operate in a world of reality. I'm very frank with our viewers and our Auburn fan base about how we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard of fandom, and, understand that we can operate, in the world of certain expectations, but also reality of what we chose to make a decision in 2020, which I vehemently disagree with and still do to this day, that set us on this path and gave Hugh Freeze a foundation that was very crumbled. And certainly I go back to this moment when he's hired. He makes his press conference, welcoming him to the Plains. Everything's all hunky-dory. Everybody's new feeling, new coach. and everything's there for him too, in the way he's talking. And I distinctly remember his next press conference, which I believe would have been after signing day, because he had one for that one technically, I guess, but I think it was like a pre-8A one. And you could just tell the look on his face had just completely changed, and the energy level had changed because the reality had set in at what he had inherited. And he kind of said as much. And that's not a shot at the players, but that's just the state of the program, right? That's the way things were built or left at that point. And so for me, 2 years in, certainly you would hope that we would not be at where we're currently at this season. However, I do see more. A lot of people brought up the comparison where Brian Harsin was in his 2 years, where Hugh Freeze is in his 2 years. There was less to support a Brian Harsin continuation than there was with the Hugh Freeze situation. Yes, a lot of that is recruiting, and it's not just about the recruiting and numbers and stars and rankings. It's about those players that he already has brought in, already getting onto the field and making significant contributions and impacts to the point where a lot of them are now starting. So you have every right as an Auburn person to be dissatisfied with this season. We all thought it was going to be a lot better, but certainly I think it's time for a little bit of context and a little less emotion when it comes to Hugh Freeze.
Well, Auburn right now, or the last several years, recent years, it's kind of like Alabama in the early 2000s when we were just expecting the coach come in and, just immediate success, stuff like that. Meaning we, after Stallings, we had Mike DeBose, then we went to Franchione, then we went to Mike Price, and we went to Shula. You know what I'm saying? It was just a constant. Yep. Nobody had any patience at all. And so now, Auburn's kind of in the same boat. I mean, it's kind of like, you had Tuberville, and then now we're to Hugh. And so it's kind of like nobody ever learns. It's the same whatever cycle. They want immediate success, and sometimes it doesn't happen that way. It takes time, and just wanting it right now is who knows? Sometimes it works, but more than likely it's not going to work.
Right, and people will want to point to the 2013 team for Auburn, and they forget Gus Malzahn basically re-inherited his old team. He was gone for a year to head coach at Arkansas State, and I'm the biggest Gus Malzahn fan and apologist there is. But I can even recognize, hey, he walked into a pretty good situation. He literally just came back and didn't have to suffer through that 2012 season. I'm
going to be honest with you, I always liked Malzahn at Auburn. I every year I was never comfortable and even though we had Saban, I was never comfortable with Gus Malzahn because the guy, he offensively, everything, the hurry, and all that kind of stuff, the RPOs, and it was very, very influential at the time. Everybody started following what Gus was, the guy that kind of brought it to the forefront, and then all of a sudden, whatever, and all of a sudden Auburn thinks they got to hire somebody, a Saban, somebody, all this, or around him and stuff like that, and he was fine. They should have just left him alone.
Yeah, and I think what Auburn fans, and you've already touched on this too when you were talking about Alabama's dark days or earlier in the 2000s.
Yeah.
You get caught looking across the state to what your rival is doing, and you start playing the compare game. And, well, if we don't hurry up and catch up, then we're going to fall further behind. In doing so, you fall further behind. It's not a miracle because this doesn't shock me. I know I've got orange and blue lights on right now. I got my orange and blue glasses on. I'm biased, but Auburn is a program that is set up to recover very quickly, given financial support, the level of care that the fans have. Folks, we were 4 and what? We're now 5 and 6. We were 4 and 6 coming to the game. Stadium is packed out. Couldn't even tell that. Same thing 2 years ago when we were firing Brian Harsin for Texas A&M again. And of course, the cool feel-good story of Cadillac, all that stuff. So, just to round the thoughts out on this topic, I would also, whether you're talking about Auburn, Alabama, you sometimes just need to sit back and let the cards be laid out. Don't rush and show your hand before, what's the expression in poker? The river comes out there, or the whatever. I'm
The boat.
butchering this. The boat. Thank you. It's been a while since I played poker.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of patience, a little bit of time. Certainly this year has its frustrations, and those are warranted discussions. But give him a little bit more time. You'd be surprised what might happen.
Yeah, I think some magic can happen in Auburn with Hugh Freeze, because I thought to myself, they're either going to have, at the time when they were looking to get a new coach, I thought to myself, they either have to get Hugh Freeze or Coach Primetime Sanders.
Oh, man. That still
What?
scares me a little bit.
One of those names, either way, Auburn's going to win with one of them.